At a buddy's wedding last night. I didn't realize it would go so late, but I didn't get home till about 3:30 a.m. and it's 7 a.m. So I've had like two and a
Oh,
half
bro.
to 3 hours of sleep, but that's okay. I'm doing good. I have written down what we could be talking about today, and we don't have a super long list today either. So I think 1 hour should be more than enough to
All
get
right.
through what we
Yeah,
got
cool.
here. Um,
We'll be efficient.
yeah, so old business. I guess we could start with the reservoir recipe change. Now that people have been building out their structures, any afterthoughts on the reservoir recipes? How are those working out for people? I know there's been some talk in the forums of adjusting. Someone has proposed to adjust the high spillover rate. So that could definitely be
Mm.
something we could talk about today.
Yeah, let me check that out real quick. It's basically just they want to talking about reducing the spillover rate of the reservoir.
Yeah, some Quincy 1971 had posted. I don't think this is an official snapshot yet, but they'd suggested in the DAO forum adjusting the extremely high reservoir spillage rates. Um, the realization of the actual cost of building these installations quickly became apparent to a lot of parcel owners who had not been closely following installation gameplay. I'm reading his post here.
Yeah.
He's referring to level 3 reservoir having up to a 55% spillage rate. And,
Mm.
level 3 being 55, I guess it's maybe people are expecting at that level there'd be a little bit less spillover. Um, what are people's thoughts on if this spillover was associated with hot zone though, right? Because is there going to be a certain percentage of the spillage rate that gets distributed in the hot zone area, like what we've been seeing with the altars?
Yeah, I think they all would we can probably all do them in the hot zone. That would be fine. I mean, if you look at the recipes on the docs here right now, the spillover rate gets pretty. Let me check it out here. It gets pretty low when you get down to like a level 9. It's 9.5%, which is super low. It's only like the level 1, 2, and 3 that are quite high, which is kind of good because it incentivizes people to love to upgrade.
Actually, that is a good point. If there is going to be a hot zone spillover, then that might be, I feel like people would be open to maybe not changing it,
Yeah.
possibly, because, you can channel, you'll have a certain percentage of alchemica that will spill over, but if you're willing to go through the effort of collecting it, and also increasing the level of your reservoir, I believe decreases the spill radius as well, right?
Yeah. So yeah, once you get to like a level 9, that spillover radius is 90 for I'm looking at the FUD one right now. Like that's basically if you add in the hot zone, it's like a level 9 with 90 Scotchy spillover radius is basically just gonna land in your pocket anyway.
Yeah. Um, Hardcore makes a point. I guess the idea here is there was a vote in the let's see the results. There was a vote in this post, and it was 52% saying no, I do not think this should be expedited, and 48% saying yes, I would want this expedited. So it is
When
it
was
is
that
too.
vote? That was this was before the game went live, I think, right?
Let's see.
Or
July
it looks like this
15th.
post was 9 days ago.
July 15th.
It was like so like 1 or 2 days before.
Yeah, I guess.
Hmm. I wonder if people's opinions have changed at all since the. I mean, that was also before we had like I remember this proposal came out basically at the same time as the reservoir recipes were being talked about. So I think there's a lot that has kind of changed since this post came out. Um, might be worth including some of the new information in it.
Yeah, in fact, the last post from 5 hours ago is another guy, James Ming. He makes a good point. You know, whether percentage of spillover is higher or lower, the economic system will finally get to a balance because everyone's getting the same percentage of spillover. I guess, unless you're upgrading, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking about a similar point today, which is that the fact that spillover is off right now and it's kind of just being accumulated is actually really good for the economy. And I think I'm glad that the DAO made that decision because since we kind of had a couple weeks of extra time where we didn't have the farming reservoir and all those installations live, there was a lot of extra alchemica introduced because of channeling in those couple of weeks. So I think having the spillover off for these couple of weeks and then potentially until we're ready to turn it back on will be very healthy for the economy because there'll just be less alchemica coming out, which is great for the short term and even medium term. It generally just slows down the trajectory and the velocity of the economy, which is what we kind of wanted anyway.
It's an unforeseen benefit. And I guess as a DAO, we can vote on maybe there's different ways we can distribute this Alchemica spillover, whether it's through event based or however. I'm not really sure, to be honest. There's probably a large amount that's been collected since alters, and spillover got turned off.
Yeah, literally, it's actually quite easy to go in the subgraph, and anyone could write, anyone who can code could write a query that would basically look at every single alchemical channeling event and every reservoir event emitted on chain. That's going to contain pretty much all the information you need to recreate all of the spillover. So we could with a little bit of work, we could make a dashboard that shows all the spillover for each parcel over the last month or whatever period you want. So as far as people are asking like, oh, are you guys keeping track of it? But we are on our server side, but also on the blockchain. It's very easy to keep track of it as well.
Dr. Wagner has he had put a good comment in regards to managing the spillage reserves. He suggested maybe we're talking about district DAOs now. Let each district DAO decide what they want to do with it, and maybe have the district DAOs manage their kind of allocation of alchemica from their channelings and spillover and stuff. That would be interesting, I think, especially if you have an active, district where lots of people were channeling. There's a lot of upgrading happening, so maybe that district DAO gets rewarded with a proportionally larger helping of Alchemica compared to maybe a district where, there weren't as many people doing that stuff. Grids is
Dr.
saying,
says he
sorry?
speak to it. Does he want to? I think Dr. Wagner wants to come up and
Yeah,
talk about that for a moment.
yeah, I think that's a good idea. Good morning, Dr. Wagner.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I think, the idea with this is I think we generally need some sort of incentive for people to get involved. And I think it's a great way to seed fund, the district DAO treasuries. And, they could do that whatever they want with it. But, we've talked about, installing like transportation systems or other like cool district upgrades. And I think this could be a really good way to have some funds to draw on. That's seed funded, and then that could be another potential revenue stream for Pixelcraft. But I don't know if that's already determined. What percentage of the spending on a transportation system? Where would that all go? But I like the idea of it not re-entering the economy through just redistributing it to the parcel owners, but bringing people together in a DAO way as part of the game. and then having some positive revenue generation.
Yeah,
And you,
that's
no.
pretty interesting idea. So kind of a couple steps involved with that would be one, we need to set up multi-sigs or some sort of smart contract for each district DAO, some sort of wallet, and all the Alchemica would get sent to those district DAOs. And then how exactly would they be able to spend it, I guess, is the next big question. Like, would it be a multi-sig vote, or we get into on-chain voting and all sorts of fun stuff like that, or does each district want to set up their own snapshot?
And you'd had your idea, previously about, the parcels you own, and was it like 1, 8, and 16 votes per humble,
Yep.
reasonable, and spacious? Yeah, so hopefully that wouldn't be too tough in the scheme of things to set up. And I think that would be a really good start. And this provides an incentive and reason to really form the district DAOs. Otherwise, I think it's going to be hard to motivate some of the districts to come together and put in that work.
Yeah, I think we are looking at a new a contract that it allows on-chain voting without actually having to do like the checkpointing, which is kind of gas intensive. You'd have to checkpoint basically every transaction of every parcel, which is, it just adds gas on. So there's a new kind of code base that I was looking at the other day that would allow on-chain voting. So I think next week we might be able to start looking into that a little bit and checking out the code and maybe being able to start looking into it for a potential on-chain voting for each district. Because what I don't really think, I mean, we could do it, but every DAO, every district DAO having their own snapshot just seems like a mess. Because we're gonna have like 50 different snapshots with all these different proposals, and it could get quite messy. So I would prefer to, if possible, I'd love to keep it on chain so everything is very clean and executes trustlessly. But yeah, we should decide how we want to structure the voting. Should it be one parcel, one humble equals one reasonable equals 4? Or is there another distribution that we should do, or maybe should each district be able to somehow choose its own distribution?
Those are big questions.
Yeah.
I think it'd be nice to start with like everyone on the same voting structure, I would think, and then if there was later a change to it, but I think just by proportional size of the parcels makes sense. And it also creates some nice reason to hold on to parcels, right? So as someone with a lot of parcels, I can't farm them all, but if it helps my voting power or influence in my district and it helps me be able to play and shape the game, it's more incentive and more fun to hold them.
I like the idea.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I like the idea of distributing the Alchemica through the DAOs. We could have some really interesting things come out of it if the DAOs or if the the people within the DAOs are able to coordinate. I know we're gonna have or district related items. I think you mentioned even roads and things to beautify your district. Maybe if Alchemica is involved, then the distribution of Alchemica that we've collected might be really interesting. Just to see what comes out of it. How well these districts are being managed. They could purchase decorations, or make NFTs for displays, or whatever they kind of felt like doing. So.
Yeah, exactly. We have street lights. You guys are probably seeing, maybe a while back, I think in one of our previews, we had like 10 different street lights that were lining the roads. I think those will be implemented fairly soon. So that would be like a fun thing that each district you could have like your basic street light, and then if the district wants to splurge a little bit and buy opulent streetlights for their district, that could be like a sink that they could spend their district Alchemica on. So, and yeah, roads being upgraded, you could definitely have. We had kind of envision it as each individual section of road would kind of be updated. It could also be just a blanket, you spend so much alchemica and your roads in that district get updated, or it could be per per mile or per per 100 gachis of road, that portion gets updated. Those would be a couple different ways to think about it.
I also remember during one of the trials that we did before the main launch, we had these like really cool gachi like statues, like these huge statues. Are those going to be something that actually gets rolled out as a like a structure that we can build with Alchemica?
I think those are more, they will be implemented at some point. I think they're not really buildable. They're called guardians, and they kind of are protectors of the citadel. But I don't know that they're necessarily purchasable with Alchemica, although maybe. No confirmed answer on that yet, but I think we were leaning towards probably not. They would just be kind of placed strategically throughout the citadel.
Ah, gotcha. I know a while ago you had mentioned, I think World Wonders or something. It was this concept you had where,
Yeah.
we'd be able to build like large attractions. Could you provide like a little more detail, if you have details on kind of what that would look like? That'd be interesting to tie this into the Alchemica distribution somehow.
Mhm. Yeah, so the idea was that if you guys have ever played Civ, one of the really fun things is getting a world of the wonder before your opponent. And so each district could kind of have that idea. So you could have a wonder for your district that maybe the movement speed of all the gachis in that district is increased by a certain amount, or maybe you get some sort of global benefit for that district.
Sounds like so much fun. And
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be a blast.
Yeah, so I do like the idea of the spillover, at least a portion of it, getting allocated to each district DAO. And now that we've finished the most of the farming stuff, one of the next items on our internal to-do list is to start figuring out how exactly we want to do the district DAO on-chain voting, and like basically all the on-chain stuff that will be related to the DAOs. So like the streetlights, if the DAO makes a decision to purchase updated streetlights, that could all be an on-chain transaction, that they would basically execute on chain, and then the event would get emitted on chain. We would be able to pick that up in the game, and then we could make the necessary updates right there without us having to go in and kind of manually do it. We could listen to the on-chain events, or just like look up, when each district we would know what the different parameters are for each district without having to store those internally. They would all be stored on the blockchain. So yeah, I'm very excited for the district DAOs.
There'll be another layer of like governance, like little sub DAOs in our game. Actually, I think a lot of them already function like DAOs. Like we have, you know, um, like Wagme Warriors. I think they have their own snapshot, and I know some other guilds have their own kind of rudimentary kind of voting structure. So it's like they're on their way to becoming DAOs anyway.
Yeah.
So okay, that sounds like a cool idea. Maybe we can try and discuss it a little bit more and figure out the exact details of, maybe not the exact details, but the approximate details of like what percentage of the stored alchemica do people want allocated to the DAOs. Get more consensus on how does the rest of the community feel about this. I think it's a great idea. But then if the consensus is really good on that, we can move to maybe a sig prop once we get those details. Yeah, and we could also have a percentage allocated to spillover for sure. We don't necessarily have to use all of that alchemica for one thing. We can. I'm sure it's a large amount at this point. By the time we actually use it too. So.
And my bad, I meant to say bubble ups. And
Bubble
Because
ups.
we've talked a little bit about where is that alchema gonna come from? How can we make those boosts great again? And perhaps some percentage could go towards the bubble up and bubble up contract. And I don't know how tough it would be to allocate that like per district, but maybe it's reasonable to pool it all into bubble ups for the whole Gotchiverse and help fund the bubble up area.
That's what I like about the DAO idea. All of these decisions could be theoretically parameters of each district. One district might say, you know what, we want to have a spillover all the time, or we want to have boosts. Like, they could figure out how they want to allocate it.
That's a good point. We could have some like preset decisions to make, and when we debuted the district DAOs, they could all vote on those, and it wouldn't just be like unlimited options that need to have time and effort. It would be like a couple decisions to make.
Yeah, like maybe a few options you could like toggle on and off. And actually, another cool aspect of that would be you'd almost create these like unique kind of biomes within the Citadel. Some areas might have Alchemica raining down. Other areas might have Alchemica bubbling up from under the surface. So you might actually have to like really think about how are you when you're going out around collecting. I'm just thinking in the perspective of someone who's only collecting Alchemica. You might have to kind of figure out that adds a little strategy. You might have to figure out where the bubble ups are happening right now, or you might have to figure out which districts always get that constant Alchemica. You might want to hang around there. Or maybe you might want to keep an ear to like the district you're in and listen to their DAO chat or whatever and get ready for a drop when they're doing it, when they plan to do that. So add these really unique elements, almost like the weather. Like some areas it's raining Alchemica, other areas it's bubbling up from the surface, some other areas it maybe doesn't even fall at all, it's kind of like dry. I think that would be pretty unique actually if each DAO was able to kind of make a few of those sorts of decisions.
Yeah, I think it seems like there's a kind of a decision that we need to make first, which is do we want the spillover to go back to the like it never really, the thing is it never belonged to explicitly to the parcel owner because it's spillover. So I see people saying like give it back to the parcel owner. Well, it's not really the parcel owner because it's spillover. So there's like a distinction. Should we give it back to the parcel owner even though it never, truly belonged to the parcel owner, or should it go to the district? I guess that's the decision that we would need to make first.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a communal allocation. So realistically, anybody could pick it up. So I don't know if it can all go back to the parcel owner. Maybe like a small percentage of it. But then it's kind of like saying, okay, well, we'll just reduce your spillover. Because that's what you're doing. Then if you're giving Alchemica right back to the owner, you're kind of reducing their spillover. That's guaranteed Alchemica they're getting back. And I agree with what No Futuristic's saying too. You could just level up and abstain from the issue altogether. Level 9s. It's a good deal, good value for what it is, in that sense especially.
Yeah, it's also we do want to be sensitive to the parcel owner and make sure people don't feel like they're not getting Alchemica that they should get. It's like it was in your parcel before you emptied it from the reservoir, and then it goes into the spillover. So if you emptied it with 55% spillover, that 55% spillover might not have been collected by you. It might have been collected by a bunch of people around you. So, but we don't have spillover on right now, so it's tricky to actually figure out what would have happened.
Yeah. And I mean, we will be collecting it. There's opportunities. I guess the other question kind of is like, for this like reserve of Alchemica, do we want kind of a model where people have to put in effort to get the Alchemica, or is it going to be kind of like a return, sort of an airdrop where you just by means of ownership, you get a certain portion. Um,
I don't think that would be well, I mean, it would be kind of, I guess, up to each individual DAO, but we would like to offer lots of different options on how that spillover gets distributed. So right now, the only mechanic has the initial mechanic was it's going to drop in a 2,000 Gachi radius, and then it was updated to okay, it's going to drop in a 400 Gachi radius or with a hot zone around it. Um, and then eventually, we're also going to have options like there's going to be some sort of monster in your district that you can kill, and it'll drop Alchemica. That would also like count as spillover. Or there's some Alchemica crystals that you need to go fight, and that'll also count as spillover. Like there should be a lot of different ways to get the spillover, not just running around aimlessly picking it up.
I agree. So that goes back to that toggling option where if we implement this through district DAOs, you could have multiple options you could toggle. How do you want this Alchemica? This is your district allocation of Alchemica. It would show, on the dashboard all 4 Alchemicas that your district has. And then you'd have kind of like
Yeah.
these toggles, maybe 4 or 5 of them. And maybe it's like, how do you want your Alchemica distributed? One option could be spillover. Like you could have a light spillover, you could have a heavy spillover, you could have a bubble up, you could have maybe crystals that you have to destroy to get it out, and maybe like a fifth or sixth option. Eventually, it could even be some sort of like a monster, like you said, that you have to fight to get the resource. I think that would be really interesting because it would change the landscape of the Citadel, like completely. You'd have to also like know as a collector, as just an Alchemica collector, it adds strategy to the game now because you're gonna have to look into like the best districts to collect in for that day or at that specific moment, to get the best yields. It won't just be like a very even spread of spillover everywhere. So that might even help with bots too. If we're trying to limit our exposure to bots, if each district has their own kind of layout and how they're distributing this Alchemica, it's not like a one fit all kind of approach for someone trying to create a bot for the game. They're gonna have to put a lot more effort in, I think, to be able to actually collect instead of just have a bot running around collecting loose Alchemica everywhere. There might be actual skill. Yeah. Okay. So that's
Yeah.
continue to discuss for that one.
Yeah, as far as a timeline, I don't see that there would be any major impetus to turn spillover back on. We are working on the cartridges and the Solidity contract for that. So that's under development. It's in progress. I mean, I think they will be eventually ready for some testing, and that it might help. It's again, there's a very untested thing, so we don't know if they're going to work as expected. They might not work, in which case we'd have to go back to the drawing board. But we are working on those cartridges on the Solidity side. It's just it's not like there's no silver bullet to this problem of bots. You have to have lots of different combinations of solutions. What I think the without spillover right now, I think no one can argue that the economy is like it's seems to be positive for the economy. Everything seems to be working as expected. So I think that's also a good sign.
Yeah, we have a healthy base to build off of. It's much easier to start where we are now and open things up, as we see fit, than it is to actually go all out, open everything right back up, and then have to shut everything back down because something didn't work out. That just doesn't, it's just not good vibes, doesn't leave a good impression, and leaves, people walking away with just a bad impression of the game. I think we should put a lot of thought into like how we want our like spillover distribution to work before we like turn it back on, and have, like you said, multiple approaches to it. Maybe there's a cartridge model, and then there's also some sort of gameplay that's implemented that makes it a little bit difficult to have a one fits all kind of approach, and then add more layers of complexity. That always helps too. So I think having all those things together uh, is going to work a lot better than just trying one strategy.
Yep, and that extra gameplay it's in progress. It's just going to take some time to test that and get that out and into production. So in the meantime, if there's no big pressing reason to turn it back on, I think we'll just continue as we are. I mean, we can work on that dashboard to show exactly how much Alchemica is pent up.
I think that would be good to see at least.
What else? Are there any other major things to go over on the DAO side?
Just have one other major thing that's been talked about right now, and that's in terms of that's referring to wearable emissions. So there's been a proposal. It's not an official proposal. This was actually discussion in the forum to impose a percentage-based hard cap on wearables based on the total live gotchis today. And this is for those of you who want to check it out, there is a actually, sorry, it is a SIG prop now. Stop new BRS wearable emissions until further notice. That was made by Notorious BTC. I will post that. Also, when Venly and Link fix, I think this is in reference to their actual traits that are like the set traits that are not really quite congruent. I think one with the link set, one item's adding brain. I think the other one's taking away brain. So just to balance that out, so it actually makes sense for the set in terms of giving the bonus. Not the bonus, sorry, but in terms of adding the BRS when you actually have the full set, so it doesn't negate itself. And then I think I'm not sure what's going on with the Venly set. If someone can fill me in on that, but I'm assuming there's a fix there too. Do we have to have any proposal or anything formal? I'd imagine right now it's not a big deal, but maybe once we get into gameplay, that could actually affect those sets if they're, I feel like there'd be a small disadvantage there with some of those sets. Because I think this is something the Wearables Task Force might have identified a little while ago. So it's just a matter of, I think, fixing it. I don't think we need a proposal for it.
So as long as these are like, our philosophy with the sets was that they shouldn't contradict their traits of the individual wearables. So if that is the case with these, then yeah, they should be fixed. There doesn't need to be any game like proposal for that. As long as they're in contradiction with their traits, we can easily fix that.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I forgot we have rarity farming season going on right now. So how easy would it be to actually fix that for those sets? Like, is it just you go into the smart contract and just fix the traits, or like is there a lot more to it than that on the dev side?
If someone, like I said, if someone could just DM me what needs to be done, I haven't looked at it in a while. So someone who could just DM me like the exact things that need to be modified, that would be very helpful. I will try to get it before the first snapshot.
Let's do it. Yeah, okay. If someone can do that, otherwise, if someone can DM even me, if you can't DM Dan, yeah. Spam his inbox. But yeah, we'll get that to you, and that's an easy fix. Then we can kind of table that for now, or consider it done, and we can move on. But the other part of the wearables discussion here is Notorious BTC's SIG prop here. It's hasn't reached quorum yet, 3.5 million ghost, but right now it's showing 90%, 96% in favor of wearable cap in relation to the number of gotchis that are available. And some of his rationale is having continuous amounts of wearables be introduced, uh, in excess of the amount of gotchis could result in maybe loss of confidence, possible like dilution of the assets on the market. Kind of hinting at there's no structure around wearable releases, so there's no schedule, and so then there's some uncertainty there, and then also refers to bullish conditions. New wearables will be released, and that could possibly cap the upside growth. Um, if we have some sort of a budget, this is where the proposal comes in. If we have some sort of a budget, that's developed, so we have this data and we have the budget, then we can start planning for the right time to have wearable releases and better manage the wearable economy as it's growing. And the other proposal will be no new BRS based wearables until the DAO votes on what this budget could look like. This ties back into the wearables task force. We had a great presentation from them during the during the summit. We had a great conversation with them. They're thinking about adding more seats. It sounds like the wearables task force is it's a small group of people really interested in this, but they'd like to open it up for more people to sit on the wearables task force, and they consider themselves almost like a committee, like an advisor committee for wearables. So they're not going to be
like a think tank.
Think tank, yeah, exactly. So they're not quite like the DTF, but they can definitely consult with Pixelcraft. And I think Jesse was open to working a little bit more closely with the WTF. So I know we're moving away from friends. That's what it sounds like, and this definitely kind of ties in with that, because right now, or historically, we've been doing these raffles, trying to manage the supply of friends as well at the same time. But we're not going to have that problem going forward if we're moving to a glitter based system for like raffles and whatnot. So we can think about what the replacement's going to look like. And, do we want to give the WTF a little bit more say in how these things are, how they go about these things? We can get more data, just kind of like how we did with that great write-up with Mikey J and Notorious BTC, I think, with the harvesters. The DAO paid them a sum of money to create a study, and we got all this interesting data, and from that we were able to make some really smart decisions. So I feel like the wearables task force would have a great kind of role there. If they're willing to take that on, they might need a couple more members, just so they got extra hands on deck. But then you can have some people looking at all the wearables, trying to figure out what wearables would be the best to roll out based on the supply, based on the budget, and then bring that data to you guys. And from there, you can work on the design aspect of it, and maybe there's some opinions around that as well. But we kind of like surprises too, so it's kind of cool to see all the stuff get released as a surprise. You guys have come up with some pretty cool designs and themes, so we definitely don't want to start like taking away any creative control or anything like that, because I think you guys have done a pretty good job. But I think the WTF working a little bit more closely with like Aavegotchi DAO or Pixelcraft, just in terms of providing advice and data, I think would be a good step to start creating some sort of a structure for assessing wearables.
Yeah, so the way I've been thinking about it recently is really, I said the word think tank, but that's almost what I feel like we need at this point, where there's like this economy is getting bigger and bigger and more complicated. There's tons of levers that can be adjusted like at the discretion of the DAO. Wearables emission is one of them. You have like Alchemica, various budgets for that, friends, glitter rates, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different moving parts right now, and I think it would be interesting if instead of it's like these organizations like the WTF, instead of like directly talking with us and giving us recommendations, like I would prefer it if they did all of their analysis and then came up with just like maybe a bi-weekly or monthly report that had all of their latest findings and suggestions and ideas like written into that report, and that was a public report for anyone to read. I think that would, because one of the biggest issues we have is that people are always wondering like, oh, how how um how are they collaborating with Pixelcraft? Like, are they getting insider information or things like that? So we obviously want to avoid that as much as possible. So that's why I think if they were able to act on all the public information and do their own analyses, then put those analyses out for us and the community to read all at the same time. That could be pretty interesting. That's kind of how I would imagine that this could work. And we could have wearables think tank. We could have glitter think tank. Trait balancing think tank in the future. There could be various specialized groups working on various specialized issues and putting out reports under the branches that they're most familiar with.
I think
And ideally those are funded by the DAO as well. Like they're not funded. We could maybe do part of it, but it's best if those were all funded by the DAO as well.
yeah. Something I've kind of noticed being around in this in our space here is sometimes people don't think they're allowed to do something until you almost give them permission to say, you know what, you can actually join this task force. Like there's no real like hardcore vetting process besides the fact that you're Gotchi gang, you want to build the game, and you have some good insights. So maybe I can talk to the people at GMI, see if we can do some sort of promotion campaign around, task forces, especially the wearable task force and the DAO Treasury task force, and maybe raise awareness on how people can get funding for what they're working on. Because we talked about this yesterday. There's a large unused budget to help grow and fund our ecosystem. So we should try and raise some awareness around how people can tap into that. I'm sure we have many community members, Gotchi Gang, that's joined, maybe even in the last few months, that don't realize the amount of impact they can have in the game if they would like to. So we can try and promote that a little bit. Perhaps if Dr. Wagme's open to it, we can even hold a workshop in the DTF workshop in the GMI server to educate people who are maybe curious on getting funding for their project. I think that would be like a good place to start as well. But we can definitely start generating some more interest and awareness, because right now we have a hardcore group of really passionate Aavegotchi members, but we can do a little bit more to see if we can poke around the community and see if we can get some more individuals involved that didn't realize they could actually have an impact. So that's just like a side point, something that I think we can work on overall, and it'll help develop these task forces as think tanks.
Yeah, well, one of the limiting factors I think of these task forces is there's a lot of data to comb through and to make analyses and data-driven predictions and things. So I've been thinking it would be very, very interesting and fun to have like a hackathon for analytical tools on all the different Gotchi data that we have streaming through. We could do something like we did with the Game Jam and have like a Pixelcraft led hackathon. But I think it also might be fun to do, like you guys did a great job with the Guild Summit at GMI. Maybe we could do a partnership between Pixelcraft and GMI, and we could put on a hackathon together. And you guys can, because those kind of things take a lot of bandwidth to like prepare them, to get people interested, and then to go through all the different projects. And it just takes a lot of bandwidth to do all that really, really fun work, but it can be very time consuming. So if there's an interest, we could do a hackathon, like a Gotchi Gang builders hackathon, to try and get some very useful tools for all the different economy stuff that we're interested in. It could be a Dune analytics dashboard. It could be if it's a hackathon, it probably should be something new that you haven't worked on, but maybe it could be like the biggest improvement to a current dashboard that already does exist. But I would love to see something like that, because there's just so much data swimming around us right now that no one's really publicly maybe picking up on. It would be great to have more dashboards like the glitter dashboard that we have, or the Aavegotchi stats dashboard that we had for the Friends task force, things like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think we had a builders discussion during the GMI conference, but it was actually kind of overwhelming. We were not able to fit all the builders into that segment because there's so many of them. So there's definitely builders in our community that we don't even know about that came out during the summit or started talking about what they're working on, and it's really quite amazing. These people, we could find a way to give them recognition as well with these hackathons and really bring them to the forefront of Aavegotchi, and that might attract even more talent. So I see a great opportunity there to set something up.
Yeah, totally.
So
that's something you guys would be interested in.
Yeah.
Have a think on it. If that's something you'd be interested in, we could do something maybe in August.
Okay, I'll note that down actually. Okay.
We easily have the budget for it. Basically a hackathon style. I think the game jam was 72 hours, maybe something like that, and just see what people can build. Take all the subgraph data. It's so robust. Like the subgraph data that we have now is so robust, especially for the Gotchiverse stuff. There's a ton of data. And then the Dune analytics, people could come up with some pretty crazy dashboards, I think. So I would focus it more on like the analytics side, not as much on, what kind of cool tool can you build, but like how can you take all of our data and present it to the community in a very useful and intuitive way to help us shine light on some aspects of the Gotchiverse that we might not be paying attention to as much.
Yeah, there's multiple ways to actually like judge that in terms of competition. There's like the visual aspect, how well the data has been put together, accuracy of the data. All these things can be used to kind of judge it. Yeah, thanks, Anthony, plugging the Aavegotchi Guild Summit. He's been working hard on piecing up the recordings and getting them up on his channel. So definitely go check that out. And, if you're not following him already, he does all the live streams. So you can definitely check that out. Yeah, so all the Guild Summit recordings are being uploaded. I'm not sure if they're all up yet, but he's definitely working on them. And I highly recommend, if you missed the summit, go and check it out, because it'll give you a good idea of where our ecosystem's at. We had a lot of attendees. I was quite impressed. It was beyond my expectation. So I definitely want to do this again. We've recently been talking about the next thing we would like to do is throw a summit for the artists, NFTs, creators, any musicians we have, and create almost a kind of a Gotchi Gotchella, and have a really fun event there. But then I also like the hackathon idea. I wonder if there's a way to combine them. I'll have to think about it, because like that would be really fun. I want it to still be engaging, right? I think there should be, if it's going to be event based, that we should have draw interest in from all over the community, because there might be people who are coders, but they never thought about building an analytics dashboard or something themselves. So it'll be interesting to see that, and yeah, we'll work on that on the GMI end, and we'll definitely keep talking about it as we come up with ideas.
Yeah, cool. I will also I'll think about it as well, and maybe we can make like a Google Doc or something to go over some ideas together.
Yeah, I'm totally game for that. I'm just looking over our little itinerary for today. We don't have a whole lot else. Those are the two main things. And the other thing that we briefly touched on is we've been talking about making the transition to glitter staking from friend staking. And someone, I think Esmeralda, had made a good point and said that we don't need to focus necessarily on the ticket system, the glitter ticket system per se, but we need to figure out how we're going to be transitioning over to the new staking model. I think there's only a couple 100,000 worth of liquidity in those pools right now, and there's a lot more stake for friends. So got to
Yeah.
slowly get them over, and then maybe we can start phasing it out at that point.
Hey, there's definitely been an increase in the last week. I think as glitter gets it gets burned more, and seems like we're almost at a point where like the supply of glitter is going down. That actually I think is going to be a good impetus for more liquidity kind of flowing in, because it'll be worth more, which is I think it's great to see that that's happening, and it's exactly kind of what we wanted. So we should definitely, yeah, start working on a plan to start decommissioning friends, and I think we'll definitely see more and more liquidity flowing into the glitter staking. If the price of glitter can kind of maintain itself or continue increasing from here, there is this kind of worry that the we've talked about this a little bit, but glitter could get uh too expensive for its current use case, which is like being used as a block. In which case, you'll probably see people start looking into the maker more seriously, and the price of glitter will kind of stabilize itself. So that's it's good that we have both of those mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, I could see a day where you really have to put a lot of thought into what you're going to do with your glitter because you have many options
Yeah,
aside from upgrading.
we've already burned. Let's see. Let me look at the dashboard. I think it's about 0.39, yeah, almost 0.4% of the total glitter supply has been burned. 3.8 3.98 billion glitter has been burned out of a max
Wow.
supply of 1 trillion.
Dang. Oh my god.
It's yeah. So we'll see what we need to keep monitoring it and see what happens, but it's the burn rate is pretty high right now.
Well, we're all degens, so we were going to burn it. Okay, so if we don't have any more on that, I just want to quickly go over three little actions, responsibilities, kind of things regarding current proposals. Rarity Farming Season 4, we cleaned that up. That's launching, or will be launching soon here. Did we say the 26th? Was that the official launch date? I can't remember for Rarity Farming. But we've decided on like a date. I know Jesse had announced it. There
Yeah.
was an announcement for it.
Yeah, the snapshot will happen 2 weeks after that date, just to be clear. The first
Right.
snapshot.
Right. And that's using the same distribution model that we used for season 3, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Perfect.
Let's adjust that. No, I'm just kidding.
We're already adjusting enough things, sir. We are the adjustors.
Which is another thing about Aavegotchi is it's adjustable. There's been so many little hiccups that we've adjusted to with ease. And I think the DAO has really made that easy.
Yeah, agreed. Let's just get through these last two things here. Use DYST voting power to support VChi on Dystopia. Do we have an update on that?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that today and plan to try and get that situated by tomorrow.
Perfect. Yeah. And then last thing, configure voting power for AM Ghost, WAP Ghost, and all glitter staking. Are we going to move to core prop for that?
Sorry, for which one?
Configure voting power for AM Ghost, WAP Ghost, and glitter staking.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit slow because every time we change the snapshot stuff, it takes a bunch of time to test all the different voting power strategies. So yeah, we'll get that bumped to core prop. That one. Are there any other things that need to be bumped to core prop?
Not that I see here, no.
Okay, that's the main one. Yeah, we'll get that bumped to core prop and then start working on implementing the voting power next week.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, excellent. And then we'll be getting some XP distributions, I guess. We got one already, and is there another distribution dropping? I think you
Yeah,
mentioned
so I
something.
did one yesterday. Those were all the SIG props. And today we got Agip 31 and Agip 32 have been dropped because there's so much XP being dropped. We've set ourselves a limit of 500,000 XP every 24 hours, and just in case somehow the wallet that does that got compromised. And so we have to do it basically in 500,000 per day. So two core props pretty much maxes that out. So we'll do core props 33 and 34 tomorrow, and then probably 35, 36 will be the next day, and then probably can also do the type form XP with that as well. Okay, so XP is raining all week.
Perfect time for it to be raining XP.
Did we update that AGIP? Is that just getting in the way, or is it fine?
Which one is that?
The self-imposed XP distribution cap, is that more of a hassle than it's worth?
No, it's fine. It's we could bump it up to 1 million. It's just kind of a security check that we have. It's not really I mean, we don't need to like manage it with the DAO. It's just uh, we self-impose that just to make sure if the wallet got compromised somehow that someone couldn't go run amok and give a bajillion XP to all the gotchis.
Got it.
Yeah, I say Agip like a word.
Agip. Yeah, okay. So that wraps it up for does anybody have anything else they'd like to bring up for our meeting today? Figure we covered all the big points. Just continue the conversation and
Yeah, I'm pumped about the Dow District stuff. So it sounds like Hardcore is gathering some thoughts on that, and we can. I'm very curious to hear what everyone thinks about that. And we on our side, we will probably start working on the specs for how we could do on-chain Dow District voting uh, to be released as a smart contract.
I see Phantasma, who's part of the wearables task force. He is in the audience. He'd like to come up, and I think he has a couple questions, if that's all right.
I got a couple minutes here. I can smell the in-law cooking. It's
Oh,
coming. So
okay.
I'm gonna get called away here real soon.
Okay.
But any kind of like if it's related to the sets, then we can definitely update those if that's the main issue. Okay. Yeah, it's 11 p.m. It's a show called basically like late night food after you eat dinner. They like to. I don't really do this a lot, but they like to eat right before bed for some reason. I don't get it.
Don't you get like indigestion? Like I always do. If I do that, I just feel gross the next day.
Yep. Yeah. So I typically don't eat anything after like like 9, 10 p.m. It's a cultural thing, I guess. Good though.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I remember Trump used to eat like a cheeseburger in bed every night before bed. So there's people that do that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Just another last
Well,
final thought before I get off here. We can start thinking a little bit if there's any avenues that the DAO would like to. I know there's Flame's been posting his advertising general post every day in multiple threads, but I do think it is a good time to start thinking about some more outreach, maybe to other communities or um, a little bit more aggressive marketing because now we have this super awesome product that we can really start doing more kind of outreach and onboarding. I think we're almost to a good time to really start cranking that up a little bit. So if the DAO has any ideas on how they'd like to spend the DAO treasury to do anything or sort of that kind of activity, I think it's a good time to start brainstorming on that.
Actually, great opportunity for that. I'll extend this out to anybody in here. You're all invited. Friday nights, every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, I hold a meeting in GMI, and it's just a general meeting. So anybody's welcome to come in there. You can either come in there to talk about your project, or if you're interested in some of these topics, we tend to bring them up. So definitely come check that out if you are interested.
hey, I was wondering, is there a way to hide the votes until after the voting to maybe give everybody more of a chance to go over it themselves and make their own decision?
I saw someone mention that I think it was the DAO discussion channel, and there was a good point someone made about the fact that we have this thing, the voting differential. So if it turns out that we do like a blind vote that no one knows what the final outcome is, it actually might end up being worse because we might have more stalemates. So just worth thinking about that. I do have to get off here, friends. Happy you guys have a great Sunday and happy farming.
Happy farming. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Enjoy your late night snack, brother. What is
Yep,
it, by the
later.
way?
It's a bunch of they got like frozen shrimp sashimi. They got I don't know a bunch of stuff. I can smell it. Smells good. So you guys have a great Sunday.
Too, Dan.
You as well.
Later.
Yeah, we'll see you later tonight, friends. If you want to come hang out, Gotchi Space, 7 p.m. Eastern on Twitter. You can come hang out with us, No Future and I, and other Gotchi gang. And otherwise, I hope you have a good weekend. We'll catch up with you next week. Peace out, friends.
Take it easy, Hefe. Have a good Sunday.
Later, Gotchi Emperor.